Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Analytics as a Service, how to offer data analytics to your customer. My name is Matthias and I'm part of Tableau's EMEA marketing campaign team. For everyone who don't know Tableau, we are a software and solution provider which makes it easy for you to see and understand your data. How can you give the power of visual analytics to your customers so they can better understand their own data? By embedding Tableau into your product or applications. With me in this call is Rob Austin, Director of Business Intelligence of Questback, who will leading through the webinar. In this webinar, you will see how Questback, a software as a service platform provider, has seamlessly embedded Tableau dashboards into their platform. By providing analytics as a service, Questback's customers can now visually analyze their own data to identify trends and insights with business impact. In this webinar, you will see how Questback successfully used best practices to build their analytics architecture, including how they collect data and embedded Tableau dashboards to ensure data security for their customers. In this webinar, you will also see why providing analytics as a service can create a premium product offering, and how to set up an analytics as a software architecture, how to ensure enterprise-grade security, and how Tableau Blueprint can help you navigate preparation, deployment, and rollout. Before we start, some housekeeping information. Please make sure that you are connected to your audio. You can join the webinar via headset. The whole session will be recorded and we will provide it to you the next couple of days. If you have any questions, please feel free to share them in the Q&A box or chat window on your right-hand side. With that said, over to you, Rob.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Matthias. So I'm going to talk to you today about analytics as a service, or probably more accurately, embedded analytics as a service and how we do it at Questback. First of all, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. So I've been using Tableau now for about 11 or 12 years, started with version 4, and I started it in my own company. And as the company grew, so I realized I could understand less and less about it. So we used Tableau to look at our databases, look at our customers, and suddenly I had a big picture of how the company was operating again. So all these years later, I'm really pleased that I chose Tableau. I hitched my wagon to the right horse because it's gone from strength to strength. And so when I stopped running the company, that's really all I wanted to do was business intelligence. And I joined a company called Interworks, where I was a Tableau trainer and a BI consultant across a broad range of industries. And then following that, I joined Questback as their Tableau expert, and I've been there about 4 years now as their Director of Business Intelligence. And down at the bottom there, just a few, my Tableau public link. So here's what we're going to talk about today. First of all, who are Questback? Why did we need this in the first place? And then I'm going to show you one of our dashboards, what it looks like and the kind of thing that we do. From there, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Tableau Blueprint and what that's all about. That will lead me on to how our platform works, and actually I'm going to go through with you how we set up a demo dashboard there. So further on from the Tableau Blueprint, we also have training and community, and then ultimately, what does this mean for our customers? And then we'll finish off with a Q&A session at the end. So first of all, what does Questback do? So we are a software as a service company offering surveys to enterprise. And we primarily work in voice of the employee and voice of the customer. So for example, in the current climate, how clear are you about the procedures to follow at work regarding the coronavirus? So this is a free offering that we've put out for companies to use to find out how their employees are coping working from home and that sort of thing, as well as some other surveys. And then an example of voice of the customer. How likely are you to recommend Tableau on a scale of 1 to 10? So that's what Questback does. But obviously, having collected all of those responses, we then need to distribute them. So we do this obviously to our customers, but also our customers of customers. So our customers themselves are often the dashboard designers and that type of thing. We have 3 ways of distributing our data. First off, with Tableau dashboards. Secondly, we can do static reports, PDF, PowerPoint. And finally, people can export the raw data. Obviously, today we're going to be talking about the Tableau dashboard side of things, the infrastructure around it, and how all that works. And just to give an example, we have almost 400,000 users on our Tableau server at the moment. So that's 400,000 people who could access one or more dashboards at this point in time. Show us a dashboard then. Yeah, okay, let's do that. So what I'm going to show you is an example of one of our dashboards that is live at the moment and the way that we would embed that. So here we've got this dashboard, effective working during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we can see an example of some of the questions that are asked here. One of the big things that is so important to Questback is because these are customers using it, all our dashboards have to look super nice. So a lot of time and effort goes into how the final appearance of them as well. So if we click on leadership here, we can see that the questions change. We can see the response distribution in there. And whilst all of this is dummy data, actually these high level numbers here, that's genuine. So that's a global average of 86% favorable for that question. So 86% of people agreed with that statement. So what I'm going to do is just quickly refresh this page. And that's going to show us the area that is the Tableau iframe. And obviously everything else surrounding it is our portal. You can also see that I'm logged in as RT, that's Rob Tester up the top. And so somehow I've got to authenticate myself. So the way that we do that at Questback is using trusted tickets. There's a lot of other methods that you can do that, like SAML, Kerberos, yeah, a lot of different ways to authenticate that Tableau supports. One of the reasons I wanted to show you this dashboard in particular was, as we scroll down, we can see better information. But one of the areas that seems to be of interest in this dummy data set is the need for flexi time, flexible working hours. So one of the things that we've done in this dashboard is used Tableau extensions, and we've actually built our own for this. So when I click Add to Action, that's actually going to pop up with this is another survey tool for us. So we're using the dashboard to actually restart, where people can put a description in here, click Save, and that will add an action to their ideation guide, and so that they can actually follow up and yeah, form their actions in their own time. So this is just one of the things that we're doing to help our customers. The other things on here, we can see that got PDF and data buttons. And if I click one of these, that's going to pop up with the Tableau Create PDF. And similarly, if I click on the data button, that's going to allow me to download a cross tab of my data. So this has been built using the JavaScript API, and just another way that we're embedding it, making it flow seamlessly into our own application. And then on the left here, you can see we've got our own toolbar where we can have, obviously, here's the actions that I could have added to my action board. So just a real quick overview, an example dashboard of what we do. One more thing I should probably point out is that here I'm looking at 4 responses. So RT only has permission to see 4 responses. And that's important because that is row-level security that we're putting in place at the same time. So there's 2 aspects to this security. Number 1, RT can see the dashboard in general. And number 2, he can see just these 4 responses. Okay, so why did Questback choose Tableau? So this is how it was before. So we had our own homegrown BI solution, which was very capable. But obviously we had a relatively small dev team. So new features, sort of progress, customer requests, they could potentially take a long time to put in. Also, the cost could be fairly high depending on what it is. Lost knowledge through churn. So as people would come and go and leave, the knowledge would be lost with them. So obviously this was a problem, and obviously keeping that BI code concise is always going to be a challenge. And there's also always a new technology. So everyone wants to use the latest and greatest, right? Of course they do. But at what point do you say, no, we're going to stick with this technology so that we can get some longevity on it? So this is what we had before, and this is what we got now. So we went for Tableau several years ago now. When Questback is now our OEM partner, and obviously we now have Tableau's thousands of developers all working on our BI solution for us. The security just comes straight out of the box. So obviously we have to configure it, but it's all there in place. No one can get at our data that we don't want to. Our customers can be the authors, which is incredible. That's the important thing for us. And it just keeps getting better. So since we first adopted Tableau at Questback, we've had PowerPoint exports come in, level of detail calculations, data exports in different formats, and lately animation, which is awesome. I shouldn't love it, but I really do. So the product just keeps getting better and better. And obviously this list is not 4 long. This list is hundreds of items that have been improved since Questback has been using Tableau. But probably the most important thing is best practice as standard. So when you use Show Me or any of the Tableau desktop features, you're going to get best practice baked into it, which is super important, helps us win business and allows our customers to develop in an intuitive way. And so that's why I've used these icons. This is how it used to be. We've got our mechanic leaning in the bonnet there, fixing it himself, versus Tesla here that just gets updated all by itself. So you get in your Tesla one morning and it's faster than it was the day before because it's been updated. So it's that kind of parallel. So I'm going to talk now a little bit about the Tableau blueprint before I go into the more technical side. So this is something that I wish Tableau had out when I first joined Questback, because it's super useful and it shows you how you can adopt Tableau throughout your organization in a way that's gonna hold. So first of all, you need to start with your analytics strategy, and from there, obviously you're gonna want your project teams, and then this splits into 3 streams here. So this first one, agility, this is all about your technology. This is what you use. And for the most part of today, I'm going to talk about the deployment aspect of this. Then we've got proficiency, which is how to educate your staff, how to make them competent in Tableau in the areas that they need to be, making sure they're all using best practice. And finally, we have community. How do you keep people engaged in everything that you've built, keep them up to date? So like I say, I'm going to mostly talk about the agility stream here, but I will touch on proficiency and community later as well. And there you can see where you can find this on Tableau's website. So our enterprise feedback suite is our main platform at Questback. So we have 3 groups of people that could potentially be using this. The first is the feedback data. These are the guys who fill out the surveys and we get their responses back. So that's our data. For everyone on the call, maybe that's marketing data, maybe it's web usage, maybe it's sales, but for us, it's feedback survey data. The second group of users are these guys, the portal users. They're the people that I was emulating just now when I went and looked at the dashboard, and they could be a completely separate group of people from the ones who gave the feedback in the first place. And then our third group of people are the Tableau desktop designers. So another group of our customers who might be actually developing the dashboards that we then see in portals. And inside of our My Site area, that's just what we call it at Questback, it comprises not only Tableau, but also we've got Exasol database in here, and obviously all of our nuts and bolts and everything that makes it all work. And so we've contained this in something called My Site. So when our portal users log in, it obviously synchronizes and looks up their user, which group they're in, and connects through to the data, which is hosted for us in the Exasol database. So I'm just going to talk about this again in a couple of different ways before I give you a demo. So this is how we go about creating a dashboard at Questback. Number 1, we collect the data. Number 2, we set up the user access for the dashboard. Again, different set of people to the survey data. Number 3, My Site. This is where all the magic happens, and we create these My Site workflows, and they populate the site on Tableau server, the projects. They also set up the Tableau data sources and also synchronize any users and groups with EFS. Next off, we create a dashboard, and obviously we're using our Tableau data source here as the starting point for this to create the dashboard. And then finally, we put it in portals. This is how the architecture looks in a little bit more detail. Again, the data's coming in here into My Site, the people also into My Site. And from there, we actually create these bespoke schemas each time. So depending what the data looks like, depending how you've set it up, My Site will actually act as an ETL tool to push this data out. And when you've got 400,000 people, you want everything to be fast. So these tables need to be constructed in a good way, which is what My Site does. And once they've been constructed, we then look at them through a Tableau server data source. And obviously this is where the security comes in, because that's all you can see. You need your username, your password, and then you can get to this Tableau server data source, but everything behind this is then very protected. On Tableau server, we split our customers out per site. So one customer, one site, and that's how we keep that data segregation very separate. And similarly on our Exasol database, one customer, one schema. So again, very segregated. Within each site, a customer can have several projects on the go. They might have lots of different surveys. A survey could be represented by a project. And in each project, obviously, we'd then have our data sources, we'd have any workbooks that we created, and we'd have the relevant users who have access to that workbook and/or the data source. This gets done in a couple of different ways. Our first version of my site used tab command to actually create users and also to create the data source. More recently, we use the REST API for this. You've got the choice. You can do it either way. Portals, which is where the customers view the dashboard. This is all wrapped HTML and JavaScript API. So that's what we saw around the workbook there earlier. Okay, so here's how it works in practice. So I'm going to give you a quick run through of how we do this at Questback. So as you see, we've got our projects, people, this has already been set up, and I'm now in my site here. So I'm going to create a brand new project. And let's just call this Embedded Analytics V2. So within here, within our Questback environment, I don't have anything set up yet. I need to go into settings. And I want a new project. So this is our survey data, essentially. And I'm just going to pick this demo survey data 1. And I'm going to decide which questions from that survey I want to bring in. Let's just bring in meaningful work and leadership there. That's great. So as well as questions, we can bring out information about the survey, like when it was completed, that kind of thing. We can bring in participant data if we have any, the person's name, etc., etc. The other important thing here is access control. So who do we want to be able to see this data source or the dashboard that's going to be made from it? So I've got a group already set up here from people, my site users. And again, we can put any relevant name against about these guys in here. So once I've set this up, I've got my data, I've got my access. I'm just going to go ahead and publish this one. So this may take a couple of moments. And in the meantime, I'm just going to open up Tableau Desktop. And I can show you the data. Oops. Okay, so here we have Tableau Desktop. And hopefully most of you are familiar with Tableau Desktop. But if not, it's going to be a really quick whirlwind tour, I'm afraid. But I'm going to first of all connect to my data and my Tableau server data source there. So here we can see this is the one I've actually just created, Embedded Analytics Demo V2 there. So I think it is. Let's just refresh that to make sure. Yep, that's good. So I'm going to click on this one and then go back to my sheet 1. This is now showing me all my fields in that data set. So I'm going to take a quick look at this item, which is going to give me a list of all of the questions that I selected. And I'm also going to pick this question title, we'll just split it out by that. And let's take a look at the responses. We'll just pop them in color. And we can see how many people now registered against each of these different responses. Okay, so we're getting there. I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to reorder these a little bit so you can see how easy this is to do if you're not a Tableau desktop user. See how quickly and easily I can configure this. And let's just go for blue here. Just assign that. Great, there we go, that looks a little bit better. And the other thing I'm going to do, I might just put some numbers in here. Let's go ahead and turn this into a percent of total. I don't want all these decimal places, so just going to format that as well. So that's great. That's a little bit of detail there. Let's hide this axis and call this questions. And I'm going to do one more. I'm going to create, let's have the question title. And we'll just put a metric in here. Do that as an average. And let's do that by color. There we go. Okay, so now we've got some headers for each of our categories of questions there. And then finally, I'm going to create a dashboard. Just call this embedded. And we'll start with our categories, put that up top, and then we'll have the questions down here. I'm going to keep this legend just so people understand what this is. I'm going to put it down here in a nicer position. I don't think we need this anymore. Let's get rid of that one. Just resize that. There we go. Embedded analytics demo. So in a very short space of time, I've created a dashboard that has some meaningful information in it from my data set. People can see what the responses to those questions were now. Next thing I'm going to do is just publish straight up to my Tableau server. And I'm going to put it in that same project that I created just now. So we can see this embedded analytics v2. That's the one I created on my Questback platform. And let's just call this embedded analytics v2 again. Now some other important things in here. Let's just pick the one I want to show. But you can see that the permissions have been set the same as the project. So that's something that our platform does for us. Just make sure that the right people can automatically see this. And the other thing is obviously the data source has its password embedded. I'm going to go ahead and publish that now and jump back into EFS while that happens. Oh, there we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is go into portals, which is this guy here. And I'm going to create a brand new page. So this is for me distributing my dashboard. Let's call this embedded 2. And again, this is now back in the Questback environment. And I'm going to pick this My Site module here. So if I go to the drop-down, I can see this is now synchronizing with Tableau server, and we can see the My Site project that I've created. Hopefully, there we go at the top, embedded analytics v2. And there is the view called embedded that I just created. Let's go ahead and turn this one on and publish it. Now, hopefully, I need to log in first. There we go. So if it's all working as I hope it is, we're going to get a Tableau dashboard out of this. Or maybe not. Oh, there we go. Thinking about it. And there we go. So in a few short minutes, I've managed to grab my survey data and create a dashboard straight off. And some of the things that you can see here are, we've got the Tableau toolbar there, so I can allow people to download this if I want to. But we've also got a configuration option in here to set the toolbar, the top, the bottom, turn it off. Similarly, the tabs, there are no tabs in this because there's only one dashboard, but you can set those out. So there's a lot of configuration that we can do in here, just the useful stuff for Questback though. So now if I come back and refresh this, we'll see that toolbar has disappeared. There we go. Okay, so that concludes this portion of the demo. I hope that gives you a feel of how we've approached this at Questback. And obviously that was the deployment and the agility phase that I've just been through. That's how we went about creating our platform. So the next one, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about education. So how do we handle this at Questback? So whenever we take on a new developer or someone who's going to need to use Tableau, we'll have onboarding trainings, and we typically do that about once a year, and that can either be a virtual training or on-site training, depending where people are located. We also do upskilling training, so for people who are more advanced users, maybe we'll get together and we'll take those people who've been using it for a short amount of time and upskill them again. So this is kind of on an as required basis. If we get enough people saying, hey, I want to learn more, then we'll run one. And we also do a monthly Tableau knowledge share where we typically have some sort of training element in there. So maybe we'll pick table calcs that we maybe want to go through in a bit more detail, or perhaps we'll show new features in the latest Tableau release or something like that. And the last area is community here. So the way that we approach that at Questback is we use MS Teams, and we've got a group of all of our Tableau desktop developers and anyone else who is interested in that area. Anybody can join it, and you just ping your questions on there. If you've got a problem, or even if you just think something is of interest to someone, this is a very active stream. There's new content on there every day, people asking questions, answering questions. We've tried to make it a real community feel. We used to use Skype, but we're now on Teams. As I mentioned, we do our monthly Tableau knowledge share, which isn't just a training thing. It's and new features, anything like that that we feel is going to bring together the community, but also help develop them. We do challenges, so we're running an Iron Viz contest at the moment. So again, just things to kind of bring all our Tableau developers together, keep them talking. We also have a SharePoint site set up. So this is a good idea to do something like this. And this is where we put our best practice. So how do we like things done at Questback? Also performance tuning. So how can we make our dashboards run as fast as possible, top tips and tricks, that sort of thing. And things like quote builders. So if our customer decides they don't want to build their own dashboard, they want to do it for us, then an easy way and a consistent way of quoting for our dashboards. So this is all part of the community environment that we've generated at Questback. And now ultimately, what does it mean for our customers? So first of all, they get Selfservice BI. They get to share what they want with who they want. And not only that, but they get to brand it their own way. So I've had Questback logos over everything today. It doesn't have to be that way. Our customers will put their logo on so that their end users, they won't see a Questback logo or a Tableau logo or anything. It's properly white label. Ease of use, and training is available everywhere. So there's so many forums and ways of learning about Tableau out there that it makes it super easy to use. And finally, best practice is baked in. So that's what makes it a great self-service BI tool. And on top of that, obviously, as I mentioned throughout, we've got that data security in place, both access and row level security. And it's continuously evolving. So I know that next year it's going to be even better than it is this year, and we don't have to spend any more money on that than we do now. It just gets better. So that brings me to, what on earth am I talking about? So if anybody has any questions, I'd love to hear them.
Thanks for this presentation, Rob. So if Rob said you have now the time to ask some questions, please use the chat window or the Q&A on the right-hand side. Rob, I see the first questions coming in. The first one is, how much concurrency do you have on your Tableau server?
Yeah, that's a great question, because whilst we have 400,000 users on there, we certainly hope they don't all look at a dashboard at the same time. So in any typical day, we'll have a few thousand people going onto our server. And I think if we have a big launch, especially with surveys, they tend to be quite peaks and troughs. So maybe someone will run an annual survey and then they'll all want to see the data at the same time. So we do have these big spikes of probably tens of thousands would be the sort of concurrency that we would expect for a big launch.
Okay, cool. So the next question is, do your customers get Tableau Desktop included?
So no, they don't, but they can use the edit button if they want. So you can go in and you can, with Tableau Server, you can obviously edit the data from a data source. You can build your own dashboard in the browser. So you can absolutely do that. That would be included. But most of our customers, if they're serious about making dashboards, will get themselves some Tableau training, and they will have a desktop license themselves.
Okay. So the next question, which I think is really important, is, can your customers provide their own data?
So yeah, this is a great question, and yes, absolutely. So although what you saw was our survey tool and the data that comes from it is in a very much optimized set format, because Tableau uses can do blending, our customers can absolutely put their data in and can have that blended to their existing data. So they might want to have, I don't know if it was topical, maybe some sales data in there, maybe weather data, anything else, and they can absolutely blend that and then publish that up to our Tableau server so that they can use that.
Then the next question is about the survey which you showed, and it's, can I use the coronavirus survey you showed earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. So this would be, yeah, this one here. Absolutely. This is a free tool that we're offering at the moment. So companies can go in, they can ask their team the preset set of questions, which obviously our internal psychologists and people have come up with this question set. So yeah, you would find that if you just go to qb.app. It's going to log you straight in here, and then you just create a new account, and that will take you straight in, and then you can actually go and just ask your team. So just put the email addresses in, it will ping those out to the team, and they can let you know how they're coping, if they need anything else, how they're getting on, all those. And there's actually a suite of different surveys that we've got in there, which are, geared for the current environment. Yeah.
Perfect. The next questions is, do you have some experience handling big data assets? Do you always need to put a highly aggregated data, or part of the aggregation can be done via Tableau?
So you can absolutely aggregate the data. We typically don't. So and that's not to say the data set is small, because we'll have sometimes millions of responses to our surveys. We use Exasol because it's highly optimized, it's very fast database, and if you get the schema right, then we can actually work with that transactional level data. Probably, I mean, if we were going to create it now, we might use Hyper, because Hyper is incredibly fast also, and would probably cope just as well. But the way we built it at the time, we used Exasol. So yes, we use raw data, but if it is a particularly big project and we don't need to slice it by lots of demographics or something like that, then we can aggregate the data. Yeah.
All right.
That's a good question.
The next one is about the custom toolbox, and I'm interested in the custom toolbox box on the left-hand side. It's straightforward to create it, or do you have to edit the HTML and JavaScript of the Tableau server?
So yeah, I'm guessing we're talking about this bit here. Yeah, so absolutely, this is our tool that we've built at Questback. So the toolbar on the left-hand side is absolutely something that we've done. It is HTML and JavaScript, and yeah, so if we click on actions, for example, it will then take us to a different page in our environment. So it's kind of like a big website that we've created. And, we've got all these different areas in it.
Great. So the next question is, what are your main data sources for the information your customers can access through Tableau, and how do you integrate your systems to make sure the data is true and up to date?
Well, we're kind of lucky because our system comes through our own platform. You can see that this was last updated a few seconds ago, so our data is pretty much live, and we know that we have a Tableau server data source which points to Exasol, and so that's pretty consistent for us. Our first version of my site actually used CSV files and TDE files. So absolutely, you can use whichever data source is going to suit you in your environment, or you can allow people to add their own data sources, of course. So there's a lot of flexibility in there. Tableau will connect to anything. Just for those who are less familiar with this, you can see here the list of data sources that Tableau can natively connect to. And if it's not on the list, then you've got JDBC, ODBC, and Web Data Connector. And with those three, you can pretty much connect to anything.
Okay, so Rob, thanks for giving the speech and doing the presentation. I really appreciate it. I see no more questions coming in. We recorded everything and will provide this recording after you, so you can share it with your colleagues and friends. Thanks for your time today, and I would like it to see you in the next webinar. Bye-bye.
And thank you to you, Matthias, and also to Biztory and other people who've been promoting today. So yeah, thank you, and especially to those who attended.